The Melbourne Storm. Coach, Craig Bellamy. Captain, Harry Grant. Minor premiers last year, 4 points clear of the comp, in fact. And then just sort of never really got into that grand final. Like, at no point did you ever think they were going to win the comp.
No, and somehow they were fucking not far away from it.
No. No, you thought they were going to comp, but once that grand final kicked off, it was never.
Oh, no, not in the grand final.
They lost to the Knights, the Sharks, Eagles, Dragons, Cowboys. That was it last year. This year, they've picked up Moses Leo and Stefano Utukamano, who I assume will stop sandbagging. Now he's left the Tigers. Do your best, Barn. They've lost Chris Lewis, Aaron Penne, Remus Smith, and young Tonomapia, who they've just put out to pasture. Their draw.
At what point do they start calling him old Tonomapia?
Well, now he's retired.
So now.
Yeah. Their draw. They play 12 of the top 8. They play 6 of the top 4. They play the top 4 6 times, but they're the Storm, so does it really matter? Broncos, Sharks, Seagulls, Cowboys, Eels, Penrith, Rabbitohs, Roosters twice. They kick off with the Eels, and they play the Panthers, Dragons, Seagulls. So it's a cosy start to get them into the comp. Before I do 17, do you want to do your super coach notes you just did, and then I'll go back to reading out a team, because this is an easy one and a fun one.
He's still busy.
He's still doing
pouring
it,
drinks.
right? So their best 17. No, it's just their best 17, the minor premiers. Pappenhausen. God, it is my favourite thing in rugby league now, Vossi. No, there's two things now, which one's ironic and one's not. I love when Vossi sounds the alarm for Pappy. It's so good.
It'll be great when he's doing it when he's playing centres.
And I've not been a huge Danganane babe. You know when you hate someone for so long, you swing around, you love them? I love Goodbye. Oh, it gets me every time. Goodbye. Pappy, Coates. Anyway, back to this. Pappy, Coates, Meany, Howarth, Warbrick, Munster, Hughes, Otukamanu, Grant, Kamakamika, Blore, Katoa, King. The 14 is Wishart. Luero on the bench with Welsh and Nelson, Asafa, Solomona. Of course, you can make arguments for the likes of Alec McDonald. You've got, I played the best 14. I mentioned the best number 14 in the game, Tyron Wishart, right then, but there's options abound. Riches for days, well coached, everything going for him. Barn, now you can do your super coach gimmick.
The worst part about the
thing is that I haven't unmuted you. Yeah.
The worst part about the alarm is if you were on a fucking beach in Australia, you'd never get in the water because it gets sounded every fucking 15 minutes.
Well, Pappy's had a rough couple of years, but now I have a 9-year-old son who has a mullet purely because of one man, and I think
Henry
Jason
Bowers.
Gillespie.
That's why I grew my mullet, and now it is Ryan Pappenhausen. And less so Damo Mason, but that's a different thing.
Jerome Hughes, $805,000 to get him into his Supercoach team, but he averages 82.3 and wouldn't be surprised if he goes even
That's
higher.
massive for not kicking, eh?
100% it is. He orchestrated everything last year. He was brilliant, and I don't think it gets any worse. Grant, $697,000 to get him into your team, averages 70.7. And there was a bit of a down year for Grant. Like, realistically, there's some upside there.
The last 3 months were fantastic, but at the start of the year he didn't.
Yeah, there's some attacking upside there that could possibly go higher. Katoa, average of 73.3, cost you $717,000 to get you into his team. I've already mentioned Jerome, top average. Katoa, second, and Grant, third. So there's not a lot there to talk about. This is exactly the same as the top three. Howarth, averaged 43.5 at 426K. I can only see upside in this kid. We've been talking about him for a while.
He's a superstar.
Storm signed him for a long time, and he was doing the shake and bake on some of the better centres in the competition.
If it's not this year, but next year, play Origin for Queensland.
The last the last 5 or 6 weeks of the year, he really looked like he was a top class centre. And
Bellamy was paying him.
He'll probably end up in the back row, but
yeah. Bellamy was paying him $500K a year 3 years ago to play for the Falcons. So
and he was burning bloke. At the end of the last year, he was burning very good centres. And
he's an Origin player.
Running around them. So at 43, I would have expected that average to be closer to 60. So, yeah.
What price did you say?
426.
Yep.
The average,
noted.
Priced at 43. So, Stefano, 50 minutes at the Tigers. maybe gets bumped up by 10, average 54 points.
He sandbagged. He was awful. Yeah, back here.
530K
He's
to get him into your team.
He's a 60-point.
It's probably worth 620 realistically. So there's 100K if you want to buy and push and go on. And Naz, Nelson Asofa Solomona, only played 35 minutes on an average last year. I think there was something going on with Craig last year, to be honest, because the bloke should have been playing 45, 50 minutes.
No, he carried a bunch of injuries.
And a lot of weight.
There was a falling out.
Yeah,
but
something went on.
Calves and shit. Yeah.
He's worth 500K in Supercoach. He's now priced at 360. So
if he plays 55 minutes.
Yeah, if he's back to where he belongs, but who knows?
I'll get out of the way. I may as well go first. I don't say a lot in this show. I've got a minor premiers. I think they are the only team that have gotten better. I think Stefano will go into their system, and you'll see the best of him. He's an out-and-out Origin front rower.
They've been talked about for fucking 5 years.
He spent a year sandbagging to get out of the Tigers. He'll go there
and the Eels. Did the same thing with the Eels. Yeah.
If he doesn't, he's going. There's two options. He gets eaten up and spat out in 6 weeks, or he becomes the best front rower in a comp, and there's no in between. He's easy to like. Harry Grant, as you said, had a quiet start last year. He'll be better. Munster's been running around with one hamstring for a year. I believe he's got that right.
Maybe it's not better.
And Pap, well, that's a question mark, but they do have Wish up the sleeve.
They reckon it may never get better.
And Pappy...
They still managed to make a grand final last year
and he went fucking really good at times.
He could probably have a quarter of a
hamstring. And if it never gets better, you move Pappy to 6 and you play Fa'alongo, who's not back for a while, but could be the scariest player in the comp, but he's best Fa'alongo. He's little glimpses, but I believe he's injured as well. But Pappy is just on an extension, and he is generally one of my favourite players in the comp. He's had 3 years on busted legs. But last year, he wasn't as quick as he once was, but he was as good as he once was the back end of the last year. He was fantastic. Easy team to like. This will be a super easy preview to go through because they're a set. We talk about set teams. They're the settest team of the set of the lot. They're the bestest team of the best of the lot. Part of the one that keeps beating in the grand final, and they've picked up a very good front rower. They've still got a very strong bench. Their rotation's fantastic, and there's blokes that aren't even in this team we can talk about that would make most other teams. What else am I going to say?
Oh, they've been ridiculously hard to beat forever. Yeah. And even since they started, they come into the comp.
I was still pissing the bed when they were winning comps. They were doing it illegally then, by the way, but still doing it.
Do what you do. But yeah, they've been hard to beat forever, and it's not going to change this year. They've added a bit of size in the middle as well, which was probably something that they did lack a little bit last year. So Stefano coming in there is a tick. The halves, Munster and Hughes, if they both play to their best, they beat fucking anyone just on their own. Yeah.
Put it this way: if you picked a World 17 to play Mars, you could pick this spine and no one would complain.
It's the best spine in the comp by far.
But it's
you and me could play back row and Ollie at hooker, and they'd win us the game.
And we would still beat Mars.
Maybe if I was coming off the bench, maybe I'd be bench utility.
But if the Martians came out tomorrow and said, "Oh, who's your best 17?" and you had to pick a one from New Zealand, whatever else, and you pick these two, you'd go, "Okay, fair enough."
They got X factor for days, like Pappy the alarm. Fa'alongo will be the next alarm. That fucking.
He's a faster alarm.
Yeah, exactly. Munster, as you said, carried an injury for the entire year. When he's at his best, he's at his best. Nobody knows what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing, and just points come from it.
And Harry Grant plays hooker for the world as well.
And Jerome Hughes was outstanding. I would say that he was as good as Cleary's ever been. Last year, it was the best year of his career.
Different football. But I know what you're saying. Yes, I agree.
He was as important to this Melbourne team as Cleary's ever been for Penrith. There's a slight defensive issue in the centres.
They fixed that. There was, but they got that right. They swapped Meaney and Warbrick away.
Howarth went in there,
and then they moved Meaney. They moved
Meaney still
and Warbrick away.
But
he kicks good goals and whatever.
He's still a speeder.
And I'll see your Dom Young and your Tupou and raise you a Coates and Warbrick, and I think I won't be far away.
Coates, yes.
For aerial assaults.
Well, yeah, sides.
Very, very close.
Yeah.
There's a split point decision.
Well, the only opposition is the other one.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Correct. Yeah, 100%.
So they've got that if they need it.
Let's get out of jail free card. Yeah, bomb to
Blore,
the wings.
Katoa, well, we talk about Superich. Katoa is a superstar. Katoa's good for a try game. Blore did exactly what we thought he was going to do when you went there. And Josh King just gets through.
I think he can even be better.
He will be, yeah. He will be.
I think he only just really grasped the Melbourne system at the back end of last year.
Yeah.
So if he can start
And had
the way he
niggles,
finished
but he niggled
last
along
year,
the way. He's Blore isn't the worst New South Wales bench
Oh no, not.
dark horse. For
Imagine
this
him and Lenu coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Another former Tiger. Anyway.
yeah, they're drilled to within an inch of their life.
And then throw in, if you need him, you got Wishart.
You mentioned the massive back rowers like Blore and Katoa just run over the top of people. 1, 6, 7, 9, brilliant. Like there's just like, how do you question their spine? You don't. It's the best spine in the comp when they're all up and going. If fit, they're just excellent, and their defense is as good as just about anyone. Penrith's probably the only better defensive team in the competition.
And you talk about depth. We talk, well, I can never say it. I've come a long way from Fasul Mali, but Trent Liero is a starting lock for half the comp.
Fucking
That's one of the easiest names in the NRL.
And you got Christian Welsh, who's an Origin Australian prop, and Nas coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Or if Bellamy's in a bad mood, he'll start him on edge one day. Is Ezra playing? Yeah, well, Nas can start today and just
kill him.
So,
and they're the fittest. Them and Penrith are the two fittest teams.
And the first teams to come. Yeah,
I'm going to say they win the comp.
I've got them. Yeah, I've got them first.
I've got them first. Win the comp. I will say.
I don't think they win the comp, but I've got them.
Because you're going to tip Sharks?
No.
So for my little spiel of why they're going to win the comp, I think it's a.
Yes, I am.
I think it's a. I think it's a Melbourne Penrith grand final again, and a big part of what I think let Melbourne down in 2024, because I don't think overall they actually played terribly in the grand final. Penrith were just.
I think it's Sharks mainly.
Penrith were. What is it? 1973. Anyway,
last year was the most nothing happened in grand final in that I reckon you felt 10 minutes and you're like.
Penrith
one
got
team's
this.
here
and that's a full credit to Penrith.
And this is a bad analogy because
And
no one's going to care
Melbourne
about 8 blokes.
scrambled.
Yeah,
but
they didn't
I
have
will
but
say-
it reminds me of back when I used to win comps for fun, but we'd turn up to grand finals. And this means nothing for 8 blokes. But you just turn up and you play a bunch of kids and you be like, it's great you're here, but we know what we're going to do over 160 overs and you won't beat us. And that was it.
Well, and this is sort of to my point. So Melbourne still had a squad largely, at least half that 2020 squad, but where they were let down, and you could tell it was a game where the team who made the more errors was going to lose because the other team would capitalise on it. The players from Melbourne who made the errors were the players who hadn't been in that squad and were the newer players. Jack Howarth made a couple of silly mistakes. Alec McDonald, for example.
Another one we mentioned, but he's a very good player.
Players like that are going to learn from that experience.
He's
better than Nathan Cleary.
He's got him covered.
He's got the Dally M for that over Nathan Cleary for days. But Howarth and McDonald, they made a couple of kind of stupid mistakes in that grand final, which I think cost Melbourne in the end. And I'm not saying that's the only.
It was Penrith's pressure.
Even Munster made a pretty big mistake in that game as well. But I will say, the experience of playing in that game after never playing in a game of that magnitude before, maybe a Howarth plays Origin this year, which helps him also.
It's a shit cliche, but it's you got to lose one to win one.
Well, with those certain plays in a Melbourne Storm, Craig Bellamy coach system, yes. Now, if you're a bunch of players who hadn't had that experience before, who were maybe playing for a Brisbane Broncos in 2023, a Parramatta Eels in 2022, you may not have the confidence to then back that up and go for it again. But in a Craig Bellamy coach Melbourne Storm system where your main players have been there before and done it, a Craig Bellamy is going to be able to motivate a Jack Howarth and Alec McDonald to, all right, you've experienced the magnitude of this situation now. You've made a couple of mistakes. He knows how to get those players up and going, and I think they will be better for the experience. And Melbourne heading in, I'm saying Penrith Melbourne grand final again. Melbourne heading into the 2025 grand final will be a better they've always had the talent on the field, but I think in terms of the mentality and being prepared for the game, they will be a much more prepared Melbourne Storm side for that Penrith Panther side, and I think they win the grand final.
Can I add to the bold prediction show? Melbourne minor premiers out in straight sets. Craig Bellamy retires.
Melbourne Premiers straight.
Well, fuck, let me get my time machine up so I can go back 4 weeks and we can put that in there.
Okay, yeah, we can. Okay, you're going straight sets out. Righto. And you're saying
to who, Cronulla?
Sharks Manly.
Sharks Manly.
Okay.
And we
beautiful.
never beat Manly, so
I-
Manly will probably win the grand final.
I'd say if that happens, I will throw Barney a party at the Grey Gums.
The thing about the Sharks, it's funny. You look at, you go through this, and I was looking at the stats from last year. The Sharks lost to so many nerds last year. Like Tigers
but they
did.
beat Melbourne twice.
Remember that, that
They did,
game
but I'm
against
just
the
saying,
Tigers?
like, Cowboys got their season
beat
back
the
on track.
Roosters.
Tigers had that beautiful
Like
night
round
that
5.
comes. I think Newcastle beat you. There
Who
was
knocked
another
the
one.
Cowboys out of the grand final? Out of the semis?
Yeah, I'm not saying then. I'm saying anyway. Anything else for Melbourne?
They're going to win the comp.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.